I want to just give an example. Recently, there was, I don't know the name of the company, but recently in one of the companies, they deployed AI system. It was working really nice. Everything was good. And suddenly that AI system, AI agent went ahead and, and deleted the production database.
AI governance has become one of the biggest conversations in enterprise technology today. Every organization wants to adopt AI, and leaders are still asking the fundamental question: how do they implement it responsibly? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Leadership and Learnings with Deepika podcast, and this is Deepika, your host. Today, we are joined by Arun Gaikwad, who is an accomplished engineering leader and who strongly believes that great technology starts with great leadership. He is a passionate advocate for leading with empathy, and he believes that as AI continues to transform our industry, we must never lose the human in the loop. Welcome to the show, Arun Gaikwad.
Hi, Deepika. Thank you for inviting me.
To begin the conversation, let's quickly jump in. Everyone seems to be talking about AI governance today. And for engineering leaders who are just beginning this journey, what does AI governance exactly look like in practice, and why has that been a business priority rather than a compliance exercise?
Very thoughtful question, Deepika. Let me start with asking you a question. Maybe you have been using some AI system. AI system I'm talking about, not the chat GPT or Claude. Sometimes AI system gives you a recommendation and that recommendation turns out to be wrong. It looks like facts, but it is wrong. Who owns that particular outcome?
It's us.
Us? I would defer to that. Is it like engineer who built it? Is it a leader, business leader who approved it? Is it a model provider, the brain behind it, or the employee who acted on it? Who? So many organizations they don't have the answer, clear answer. For me, the AI governance, where AI governance begins is it's not a policy sitting on a paper or in some document and uploaded somewhere on the SharePoint that you need to go and review, right? AI governance is something should be in the practice. It is an operating model for making responsible decisions through the life cycle of the AI system. It asks, are we solving the right problem? Is AI appropriate for this decision? What data can the system access? How will we evaluate the quality, the safety, the fairness, and the reliability? Where must a human intervention or human in the loop is involved? Who can approve the deployment? Who can stop the system when it behavior changes? It started hallucinating or giving wrong information. The risk is also this depends on the context. The system that we build, the AI governance, is not just a paper policy, but it actually starts when you start the use case of the AI. What I advocate, it's a proportion to the potential impact, not the applied as one of the heavy process to everything. This is why I am also building one application which is called AI SDLC, or ADLC, Agentic Development Lifecycle.
Okay.
That platforms actually brings together the project context that you're working on. It's SDLC kind of extended with AI agents. So it brings the project context, understands the requirement, get the architectural decisions, suggest some architectures and get the decisions. It is very sensitive to the data that is being used. What are the securities that we can apply on top of it? How AI can evaluate its own outcome with the metrics, how the authentication is working, what are the evidences that AI system can provide for that particular project that can be reviewed by human in the loop, where exactly the human approval is required, and how exactly we can keep on monitoring. Sometimes what happens is you build a system, you deploy it on the production, and you leave it. You don't check whether that is really giving the real correct answers. Is it updating itself? It is reviewing itself. Is its own work? It is not hallucinating. If you I want to just give you an example. Recently there was, I don't know the name of the company, but recently in one of the companies they deployed AI system. and it was working really nice. Everything was good. And suddenly, that AI system, AI agent, went ahead and, and deleted the production database because there was no evaluation, there was no accountability of anyone, there was no metrics, there was no human in the loop who could review this before AI agent takes the action, and that too on the production. In 9 minutes, it deleted the entire multi GB data, production data. And it was very difficult for them to revive that data and get back to their old ones. It happens. And that's where the leadership matters. Instead of, if something happens in production for the air system, instead of asking team to reconstruct or blame it, I believe AI governance is something that is owned by the entire team, engineering team, production support team, the business team, the leadership. But the accountability lies with the business because these are the people who are the core of it, where they take the decisions, they evaluate the outcome, and they should own. They should not just own, but they should be accountable for the output. For the second part of your question was governance about the business, right? You talked about the business, asked about the business thing. AI governance is now a business priority because AI risk can quickly become customer risk, financial risk, operational risk, or reputational risk. As I told you the example, the AI agent deleted the entire database. That's a major risk, right? And you cannot take that kind of risk with the AI agents, relying solely on AI agent to take the action on critical domains like healthcare or finance. You cannot rely on that. Good governance is also for AI is also important, and it's an enabler. When knows the team know that they have approved tools, what can they use? They have clear boundaries. They have evaluation expectation or the metrics that they can compare the AI output against. What is the overall escalation path if something breaks? Who owns it? Who is accountable? And how exactly you can spend time in resolving that, making sure that it doesn't get into the risk area. It should be it should be governed across the application AI, which will help the team spend less time in guessing and more time in building. The purpose here is not to keep saying no or control too much at the AI governance level, but it is to help the organization answer with confidence.
I understand that, Arun, but we need to have a framework or certain policy you have to introduce. For example, the organization level, as you have mentioned that the product
Mhm.
team take the ownership of this. But in my opinion, I teams and product team as an organization itself have to introduce the AI governance. I believe so everyone can start implementing it at every point of SDLC.
Yes, agree. That's going back to my earlier comment that AI governance should not start just before we are going to the production, and then we create a AI governance rules and checklist now. AI governance should start when you or organization decides that we have to create this particular system in AI. That is the time you start building AI governance. AI governance is not the checklist that you just check off and that this should not be done, this should not be done. It should start from the beginning. Why? I'll tell you. When any organization, and with experience, I'm telling this, any organization start with AI, they start building the application. They are starting using it. But if there is no control, there is no governance, that what kind of brain you're gonna use, whether it is open source, which is ChatGPT, which is global, or you want to have a private LLM, what kind of tools you have access to, because you don't want to give access to all the tools where your data can be exposed. What kind of limitations, token optimization that you can apply on top of as part of the governance. All these things has to be built in already so that your team is focused. They know what exactly their boundaries are, and they work within the boundary so that they don't have to guess whether we can use this or we can not use this. And when you go to the production, there is no question that whether we can deploy it or not. AI governance should start from the scratch, not at the end.
I really like that perspective, Arun, because AI governance often sounds like a huge initiative, and many engineering leaders are facing this today. The challenge has become more immediate. They're wondering where to actually begin. Let's make this more practical. Let's imagine a CIO asked you to implement AI governance in the next 90 days. What are the first three guardrails or capabilities you would begin with?
Good question. It is a generic problem. If I am at a organizational level who is trying to implement AI governance from the foundation, I would start with what is the AI use case? What are the different AI use case inventory? I'll try to build that. I'll try to identify the risk around those inventories. I would ask the business that do we truly know where AI is being used in the organization, right? If I take an example of any organization which has their business team, which their employees, their business team, their contractors, their vendors, without this AI governance, everybody is working in silos. So employees are using public tools, and the teams are running some pilot AI project separately. Whereas vendor trying to prove themselves, they are also embedding AI features into their application that they want to deliver. And business unit is also trying to experiment outside the formal delivery channels. Everything is kind of jumbled up and separated. First thing I'll do is I'll create the AI use case inventory and the risk around it so that everybody knows, everybody's on the same page. These are the AI use cases that we're gonna work on, not in silos. Second, the part of that thing is when we are creating this inventory, we should ask questions within the team that what is this use case? Who owns that particular use case? What kind of data is going to use? Does it affect? Is it internal or external to our customers? That validation is also important, and I'll tell you why. And does it only consist? It only assists the human, or it's taking action on their own, the agents. And what is the consequences if something goes wrong? What is the risk there, right? That thing I'll build as part of the inventory and the risk assessment or risk classification. The second thing I'll work on is I'll define the ownership and the accountability, right? Every use case that organization finalizes that we need to go ahead with this particular use case, the first thing that I told you is everybody's owning it, but one person is accountable. We need to identify a non-negotiable accountability of that particular use case or that particular product. We need that business owner, who's the business owner, who's the technical owner, what is the risk level that we are operating around, what is the evaluation plan in the sense whether AI is giving the right answer, how can we evaluate, how can we embed the human oversight model into it, what is our approval path, right? We are doing something, but there are some critical or sensitive information and sensitive feature that we have built in which needs approval, right? What is that path? How exactly we keep on monitoring that particular system so that nothing falls through the crack, right? That is the second thing I'll try to do. A third thing I would integrate this particular governance into SDLC rather than create a parallel paperwork process, right? As I said, I will integrate the AI governance from the start of it, right from the what is the business problem, what how exactly we can create the PRD, how can we get the requirements, how can we break that requirement to user stories, and all this SDLC cycle that we follow generally in the software development. I'll embed the governance at each stage so that nothing is getting falling through the crack and everything is kind of reviewed before it goes to the production.
So, Arun, before we move on to your third point about AI governance to be as part of the SDLC, the
Mhm.
second point that you mentioned about the human in the loop, the team that
Mhm.
comprises of the AI governance, if we talk about it, many are incredibly moving faster. But what is the biggest mistake you see in implementing AI governance? And what happens if that's not addressed early?
Great question, Deepika. I've seen that organizations try to adapt to AI because it's a rat race. Everyone wants to showcase themselves as AI enabled company or organization. Biggest mistake is they're confusing AI activity with the AI maturity, right? So organizations, what they often do is they go buy licenses, right? Thousands of AI licenses, and become AI enabled organization. It simply means that thousands of their people now they have access to tool, right? Some kind of tool. Maybe it's a Cloud or GPT or something that they have created or purchased from somewhere. They count the how many licenses we have, how many users are actually using it, how many pilots we built, what is the proof of concept AI application that we have created. But they are not able to tell whether their AI usage or the product or pilot they are doing, is it actually producing a reliable business value to themselves or to their customers. Is the team who's working on that, working on some proof of concepts or pilots, are they really solving the problem? Is the data that they are using, is it protected or handled properly? Is their users, are they reviewing the output critically? Can organization explain a decision or respond to an incident and disable that particular system if something is, that AI system is giving something wrong information? Can they do it quickly? They are not, and that's where the problem is, that they build something, they deploy, and then they forget about it. That's where the AI governance comes into picture, right? What I see and I suggest is that in any agentic solution that organization builds for their customers or for their employees, failure will definitely come based on what kind of misleading prompt you provide, or what kind of retrieval content that you get, or the rack system that you are using, how up to date that particular loop is. We need to have a governance. The governance will definitely look into this, and then it will stop, suggest, or block things which is going to have going to get your pilot or your application that you have created into falling into that particular mode where it is going to be disaster.
Yes, Arun, to your point, if approvals increase, would you not think that the experimentation becomes difficult here? My question is, how do you build the guardrails to reduce risk while also giving the teams freedom to experiment and move quickly?
Yes and no. Very good question. And with experience, I can tell. Governance is, as I told you about, that it's all about who can do what, who has complete access, who doesn't have access, what can we do, we cannot do, right? And putting human in the loop, that gets more controlled. Sometimes organization fail there, or they get into a trouble where because of AI governance, your progress becomes slow because at every stage you need some approvals from someone. And that's where the AI guardrails are important. As I said earlier, that whenever AI use case is finalized, we need to identify who's the owner. Is it for the employees or for customers? For employees, if it is only for employees, that means that there are less risk that your data is going exposed, or customers' data is getting exposed, or the security issue is going to happen. That's where you can evaluate, or you can ask your AI governance to be little easy, go easy on your team, so that your team gets that freedom to use different tools, allowed tools again within that constraint, but less human intervention or less approval mechanism for them to experiment. That will speed up their pilot, speed up their evaluation, speed up their experiments. Whereas I would say that I still agree that, for as far as the sensitivity is concerned about using AI and going in production with the AI system for customer, and specifically I'm talking about financial domain or healthcare, anything to do with customers' identity, yes, or payment, it has to have a very controlled governance around it. Experiment, you can do it in dev environment, that's okay. But the moment it goes to production or going to production, you need to have more controlled environment for your applications. AI governance, even though it kind of slows, but if you give them the why, what exact problem they're solving, what kind of tools they have access to, what kind of environment they have access to, or LLM brain they have access to, then it becomes easy for them also to understand and work within that constraint and produce the output much faster.
Thank you so much, Arun, for sharing your incredible insights and experiences with us today. Before we wrap up, what is that one fun fact about yourself that we may not know?
A couple of them actually. I've been talking about my fun fact that I like to. I am a good sketch artist, so I sketch. I sometimes paint as well. Some of the paintings are in our living room and our bedroom. But yeah, apart from that, I'm a very good cook. Corona has taught me how to cook. Before that, I the only thing that I knew, or a couple of things I knew, was making a tea or making a Maggie. Other than that, I had no clue how to make any kind of dishes. But yeah, Corona taught me how to make much better actual food, actual dishes. And I have been working with my wife. She has a catering business, so I'm helping her. And with that, I learned how to cook, how to make dishes. And sometimes some of the Indian cuisine comes out much better than my wife. That's my fun fact that I love cooking and feeding others.
Interesting, Arun. Thank you for sharing about your cooking, your sketching skills. It is being part of the show today, the Leadership and Learnings with Deepika.
My pleasure, Deepika, for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate the thought-provoking questions that you asked, and it also made me think about this as well. If I want to leave your listeners with one thought, or leaders with one thought, is
Sure.
that AI governance is ultimately a leadership commitment and not simply a compliance program. The tools, the policies, the control that matters, but they will work only when the leaders model the behavior they expect. The standard I advocate is simple. I'm very optimistic about AI and improving the delivery and amplify people. But the standard I advocate is simple: move with the ambition, lead with empathy, and never compromise integrity when AI begins affecting real people. Again, thank you, Deepika, for having me. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Arun.